is typical. We're also like our reading focus was basically on the proposal method in which you learned a three-step technique, which was just to ask the proposal, refine it with questions, and respond briefly. And also in the reading there were some case examples with the mediation. So today we just wanted to have like a brief discussion like about our what the reading focus was about. But before we get into that, I did kind of want to start us out with the icebreaker. Just a brief introduction of everybody, just like your name, and kind of what drew you to want to read the book or even come to the book club to talk about it. Um, so I don't know who wants to
I'll
go.
start. I'll start. Hello, I've been with the group DRC on and off for 15 years. My name is Alexandria Oaks. I was a professor at Eastern Michigan University, and I got involved with DRC originally through a contact with being a juror on one of the trials of Judge O'Connor. And I met his administrative secretary, and I was talking to her about doing community work and something I'd like to do when I retired, and she suggested this. So that's how I wound up with DRC. I have been part of a book club for many years, and I used to be part of the Barnes and Nobles book clubs, and they all stopped when the pandemic happened, and they've not resumed. So I really miss being in a book club. And since this has to do with the things that we do all the time, I thought this was a really good idea. So I'm glad that we can get together like this. I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else like to share?
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I know many of you. I'm another case coordinator for small claims court. So, lovely to see all of you here today. And I'm here because, Bill Eddy's a great author. He knows way more than I do about mediation. So I'm sure that we can all learn from this great book. And I love that it's, just the right size. It doesn't take us, months and months to get through it, just a little bit at a time. So, yeah, just happy to see everybody here and talk to everybody off when we're not mediating.
Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Lewis. I've been with the DRC, I believe, anywhere from 8 to 10 years. I really don't recall at this point. I am a retired social worker who became a school administrator, and I have not read the book. I'd like to read the book, but I have not done so yet. But I cannot say that I can come to the book study just because of the fact that right now my mother is in a transition period in her life. And so I'm pretty much about 80% her caregiver. So I'm not able, my time is limited, I'll say that. So that's it.
Thanks for taking time with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I can go next. I relate to a lot of what you shared, Lisa. My name is Carrie Landrum. I use she and they pronouns. I've been an affiliate of the DRC for probably about 15 years. I also don't remember how long it's been. I am a professional conflict resolution practitioner and restorative practices practitioner. I work at the University of Michigan. I run into a lot of high conflict people in the, and I also am going through some transitions with my parents, I have very limited time, been hardly doing my job because I've been focusing my time on my parents. And so I hadn't started the book until today. I've read like 2 chapters, and I appreciated Belinda saying, please come on, even if you haven't read the book. I knew I would benefit from this. And I definitely run into a lot of high conflict people in my work, and I've been wanting to shore up my strategies and how to approach them. So I'm really grateful for what I've already learned from the book, and the very little that I've read so far. I'm like, yeah, this is great. I'm learning about the brain and left brain and right brain stuff. It's been very helpful to me. So thank you for letting me join you.
I'm happy to jump in. I also have not read the book, and I appreciate you letting me join this discussion, having not yet read the book. I've ordered it. The topic is what attracted me because I've also been a long-term off and on DRC volunteer, re-engaged over the last couple of months. I am retired now, which gives me time, but I've kept busy both with family and travels and 2 book clubs. So this would be the third. And what's most appealing to me is the topic. I do a lot of conflict resolution in my co-housing community, and it's a challenge when you're friends and neighbors with people that you're mediating with, particularly with some of the conflicts that occur within a small community. So thank you.
Okay, I can go next. I've been with the DRC for, I don't know, maybe 5 years, 6 years, pretty much several years before we went on Zoom. And I had heard of it. It was recommended to me. I came in with a lot of hesitation, enjoyed the training, but stayed somewhat hesitant. But I do enjoy it. I enjoy seeing other parts of life that I know nothing about and coming to some kind of conclusion. So I read part of the book when I first got it, and I finished the last 5 pages 3 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So I have two different sets of recollections. There's the very, very hazy because it was a while ago, and then there's the fresher, more immediate thing of finishing the 6th chapter. So I look forward to hearing people's reactions to what he says.
Okay.
So I'm Diane Winder, and I'm just going to say, put quote marks underneath everything Alex Oakes said. I mean, I walk in her footsteps. Pretty much everything she said, that's what I would say, including the whole EMU thing. So I would say that Alex's and my life in administration at Eastern put us in much direct lines with a lot of conflict, maybe not with us, but around us. That was kind of rollicking, you know, when you just step back and look at it. And it was a pleasure and a challenge to help sort that through. And I felt like it was giving me good practice for what I always wanted to do in life, which was work the social justice arena. But somehow playing the cello just didn't quite work out with social justice. And I felt strongly that as a state employee in 2 or 3 different states, having been in academia, I couldn't do that work because I needed to recruit people in a very open, non-confrontational way to my studio at Eastern. So when I started preparing for retirement, I started looking around. I had a goal in mind, which was to work with women who'd been trafficked. But you don't just kind of walk into that, right? Especially if you're a cellist and you're like, I don't know. But so I started talking to people about that goal of mine and to work on tools and understandings of how the work might go. People said you should take training at DRC. And I've really enjoyed, I think those people walk on water, Amber, Cassie, Steph, I mean, you're listening. And so I wanted to do those trainings to see where it might be able to take me. And I've enjoyed all varieties of mediation, and I'll look to continue that as well as other things in the community.
I'll go. This is Craig Harvey. I got connected with DRC, I don't know, 12 years ago or so. Did small claims mediation and a little bit of circle keeping. And I've been doing this video stuff for different aspects of DRC for many years. and not so active lately. But and I have not read the book. I didn't get that this was just a book discussion. I mean, I get that I'm welcome, which is good because it's useful information after having heard Bill on these lunch and learns a couple times a year or whenever ago or whenever that was. So I look forward to hearing more about it, the whole thing. Thanks.
I can go next. Excuse me, I'm Kathy Friedrichs, and I've probably been at the DRC as long as Craig has, I think, about the same amount of time. I do mediation and, excuse me, and circle keeping. And actually, the DRC work is my favorite work since I've retired. And have taken them into the women's prison and work with Diane and several other people there. And that has been a highlight of my life, actually. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Zena Zumeta, and I've been involved with the DRC since before it was the DRC, but in and out, and not as much recently. I'm almost totally retired as a mediator, and still do some teaching and training. I've been a follower of Bill Eddy's for as long as I can remember, but it is really hard for me, being such a facilitative mediator, to switch into his mode. So I keep trying to learn. Listen, I go to a lot of his talks, and certainly the ones that he did here, as well as others, and just read all of his books that I can get my hands on. But this is actually the first book that I thought, oh, okay, it's specific enough that I might be able to actually try some of the things and work. I have a great story for once when I tried his technique on an impossible client that I had in my office, if anybody is interested in that particular one. But I'm delighted that there are people here who haven't read the book, because I would like to go over the techniques that he's suggesting. Having read them once, I think for me anyway, isn't enough. So thank you for having this.
So I just want to say, welcome to everybody. Regardless of if you read the book or not, we are prepared to have a discussion, whether you read the book or not. We have different material as well to share with you guys, like to go along with our discussion. So I don't think it's gonna too much matter if you have or haven't read the book. If you need a copy of the book, you can always come pick a copy up from our office. Um, Either Tuesday or Thursday. You can send an email to either me or Cassie, and we'll be available to bring the book up to you, or you can come down and get it. So I just want to also let you guys know that as well. Um, but just to kind of get into the discussion, I feel like I have some great questions regardless. So I know, like, just speaking of the first chapter was basically just like a mediation that Bill had did with Emma and Jake. And I kind of just want to talk about like sometimes why like blame fails, or how like focusing on the past can sometimes escalate the conflict um a bit more. And if anybody does have any stories that they would like to share from past mediations that they have been a part of, where they have saw like how blame typically can escalate conflict, if you wanted to share, if anybody had any stories. I feel like Stephanie may have a good story because we just did this the other week.
I feel like this comes up in marriages a lot. I'm sorry, Alexandria.
Oh, I have sort of an observation along those lines. Of course, there's been people in my work that have been conflicting, but it's not particularly married couples. And I find that if you I really loved his idea about getting right into the heart of the matter. I actually feel that a lot of the stuff we do right at the beginning takes too long, and people are starting to get antsy because they're staring at each other and they're staring at each other, and we're still talking. I would like to shorten the amount of time it takes to get into conversation with something like what he's suggesting, to start off with maybe just, hello, this is who I am, this is what we do, and then can we go right into where the problem is exactly at according to each of you, and what is your first idea on how to solve it? Something like that. So I did love the idea of cutting down all the stuff that goes on right in the beginning to make it more focused on them right away. So that's my first comment.
And just to piggyback on what you're saying, what he's explaining in the book is that you're switching people in a matter of seconds from blaming to problem solving instead of being stuck in the past, pointing the finger at the other person about what happened, just by asking somebody what their proposal is or what ideas do they have for a solution, kind of gets them into the right side of the brain that switches them into problem solving and generating solutions, so they're no longer focusing on that past blame.
So my story is more about it was a divorcing couple, and they really wanted to try to mediate their divorce. They were pretty impossible, and it wasn't that they were so much blaming each other as that the husband in particular just was completely self-centered and had no empathy. I think Bill talks about that in high conflict people, that they're lacking in empathy. But the point and so we ended up in separate rooms pretty fast. And I was going back and forth, and I was asking for proposals. I did do that. And at one point, I brought the proposal from the wife into the husband, and he just looked at me and he said, "I don't want to hear anything more from my wife. I could care less what she thinks." And I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is where Bill's stuff comes in. I gotta remember his stuff. And one of the things that he talks about a lot is ear. I don't know if you remember that from when he was here, that for high conflict people, you need to give empathy. There's something else in respect. I forget what the A is for. Anyway, so I was trying to do that. And to give empathy to somebody who has no empathy is difficult for me anyway, is difficult. So I tried one of his phrases, which is, "So I can hear how frustrated you are." And then, A is acknowledgement. And the acknowledgement part was, "And you've been really working hard on this, and I know that you really want to get this settled." And then I got to so that the respect part, I think, was in there, acknowledgement and respect. But then I had to get in that, you can't get a mediated settlement without negotiating. And you can't negotiate if you're not hearing what the other side is bringing in. And I'm thinking, the bubble over my head was like, okay, this could be the end of negotiations. So I did say to him, I think you kind of have to respond to her proposal, or there's nowhere to go in the mediation. Does that make sense to you? And he went, oh, okay. And he did eventually give another proposal. But I just thought that was so classic of what Bill Eddy is talking about. And it took so much for me to actually do that ear response. It was like, I was really proud of myself. I wanted somebody, maybe one of you in there, to say, you did good on that.
Yeah,
funny.
and then for in this book, those responses to, instead of saying, I don't really want to hear what my wife has to say, he will explain that that's not an acceptable response. You can either say yes to the proposal, you can say no to the proposal, or you can say, I'll think about it. And if you say no, you need to have a proposal to come back with. So we're not just at a standstill. And it sounds like this is something that he would use frequently and remind someone you just can't say no without giving another proposal. You could also just think about it.
And that's the part I hadn't learned yet. I just thought that was really great as a way to deal with it.
Does anyone
Attention,
have,
that's what it is. Thanks,
yeah.
Cassie.
Does anyone have anything they would like to share about asking for proposals? There's so many ways you can ask for proposals. Have you tried this in your own conflict resolution? Um, Asking a party for, or a party or respondent for a proposal and how that has gone for you?
Well, I'd like to just say first, I think that the ear, how I've responded to that, Zena, is that to me, it's the paraphrasing that we've learned, that's the basis of all this mediation out of the DRC. So that for me wasn't hard. I certainly hear you when you talk about trying to have or presenting empathy to people who don't seem to have any empathy. But I am such a fearless packer inner of paraphrasing. So I hear that you, and I understand that you, and I think that this is a good time for you. And I also just wanted to say that I'm, after hearing, the blame for a certain period of time, what I tend to do is just say, and I like to use my hands, I think it's effective, but who knows? I say, so let's stop with the conversation. I believe we've really heard you and understood you. And what I'd like you to do is move forward. Show us a pathway forward, because I know you can see one. I know you can see one, or I feel that you have one, and stop and move forward the same way I like to show that, we're really close. And I wonder what it would take, Cassie, and Cassie basically said this yesterday. So what will it take? I mean, that's standard, right? But what will it take to bridge that gap? I mean, I can almost see you stepping across it, and then we'll be there. And so you plant something, the expectation, no, we're not going back. We've heard you and we feel that, so let's move forward. What do you see? Anyway.
I always love that. I love you, Diane, because that's basically goes back to like what Bill was even discussing in the book, like just in order to get these proposals, like to just keep them focused, like on the future, like take responsibility and just like contribute to finding solutions to the problems. And it's just certain ways that we can go about doing that. Just because you can tell by the mediations that you have mediated, or even like the circles that you have sat in. Everybody in the room feeds off of everybody's energy. Like, so if you come in and like you're feeling down, or like if you're like not smiling, or if you don't have a positive attitude, or like they can just take certain words that you say and spin it a different way. So I do always feel like just to remain positive and keep those things going. Like I feel like to keep people focused on the future. Um I don't know. I just like what Diane says, because that really is just like, let's focus on the future. Let's take responsibility and let's kind of contribute to getting an agreement or some type of proposal. Okay, I'm sorry. Cassie had a question, and then we just run off.
I did not have a question. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you didn't. I thought you had. No, I thought you said something like you asked a question before we went off this
Oh,
way.
I did. I had asked if anyone wanted to share using those words that you can prompt a proposal, what do you propose? What do you suggest? What are some options you'd like to consider if anybody had any experiences they wanted to share of trying to switch the parties from blame into solution focused proposal making?
I have to say that I read this much more as offering me personal tools rather than mediation tools. And so every time I hear, what is your proposal? I can hear it being done badly. So what is your proposal? And so I'm trying to get out of that mindset. I'm trying to get it phrased in my mind in this positive, empathetic way of saying it.
Okay.
Greta, I have to underline that because one of the things that really struck me was how focused he was on tone. And he sort of said that over and over and over again. And so I would love for us to practice tone. What is the tone that we could use to say that Greta wouldn't get your back up?
I think we have a little we have a lot of different things. And if you want to share, Cassie, I know like just like some different ways of like how you can approach like so what's your proposal without actually saying like what's your proposal. Um
Here's my quick scripts, right? Sometimes I find it helpful to keep question prompts nearby when I'm helping someone go through a dispute. If I get stuck, what would you propose? So what do you suggest? What are some options you'd like me to consider? Do you have any ideas that might solve this problem? Or I'm interested in your thoughts about what we should do here. One of my favorite parts about this book is to avoid why, because it's a criticism.
yeah.
And now I think twice before it comes out of my mouth.
I thought I was the only one. I was like, how can I say this a different way?
So the words you can use, what would you propose? It sounds softer and less threatening instead of putting a so in the front. So what's your proposal? I get why that concern was brought up. I understand that. What would you propose or what would you suggest as an alternative? Or I'm taking this right from the book. What are some options you would like me to consider as an alternative that shows you're interested and would consider what they're saying? I'm interested in your thoughts of what we should do here. And because you're using the word we, you have a sincere interest in solving it together. Does some of that
I would
help?
focus on your word would. For some reason, it feels like that softens it as opposed to what do you or what is your.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully that was helpful. We do have a role play that we can go through as well.
That was great.
I mean, I just enter in the chat, like, if you guys do want to look at like different suggestions or different ways, you can ask that. It's also found on page 33. So if you want to reference, like to go back to look at that, or to look at the discussion, of like how to manage your tone and your voice, in different ways, like you can ask. Did anybody else have
And
any other offers of like,
so I have to say that I have that page with turned down for quick reference.
It was a key takeaway, in my opinion.
Mhm.
yeah, so, let me go back. I'm sorry, doing a lot over here.
Um, if we didn't have anything else we wanted to talk about with how to suggest a proposal, I thought it would be good to spend a minute talking about brainstorming. Can we talk about that really
We
quick?
can talk about that, yeah.
Yeah. So part of this book goes into brainstorming. And again, the idea is to focus on solutions instead of blame and past conflict, or pointing the finger and being stuck in the past. And one of the tools to use for brainstorming is just to kind of get your parties to list some options or to think of more than one solution. Um, I thought this was really helpful because we've all seen where parties show up and they're stuck in their position, right? I want this, I want this. They're really far apart from A to B. And if we ask them to think of multiple solutions, then we know that they're not going to be stuck on one position. Come to the table with 2 or 3 possible solutions you could present to the other party or propose to the other party. And I feel like it was really powerful in this book because it's all about solution focus, and brainstorming does get somebody out of blame, and all of a sudden I'm making a mental list. And Bill actually talks about having parties make a physical list, and I was just wondering if anyone else felt that that was something they would think about putting into their mediations or conflict resolution. Would you actually separate the parties and say, I want to give you 5 or 10 minutes to write down, because the task of actually writing that down, you're now physically involved in making solutions that you're going to use to try to solve the issue overall. Does anybody have any feedback on that, or do they think that they would use that? I'm curious to know what you think.
It's not something that I had considered previously, but I think that it could be an excellent tactic, especially if you're in one of those high conflict situations that, I think sometimes you find yourself kind of going around in a circle. And if you can stop it and have them refocus on something in a different way, using their brain differently, I think it's an excellent idea. It's not something I've done, but I definitely think it's a useful tool.
I think sometimes we maybe do that, at least yesterday when Cassie and I worked, I kept saying, and she reinforced, would you like 5 minutes to think about this? And, or while we're in the waiting room on caucus, um, we would leave. I don't know if they realized we were doing this, but at least in my mind, I was doing this. So while we're talking to while we're in caucus with the other party, would you think about how this might blah, blah, blah? So we give them sort of an assignment so that they can come back having been thinking rather than just sitting there stewing or something. I also think that like when we can do things in person, especially, my experience in faculty meetings, just for people to see their ideas written down on a whiteboard or whatever, written down, they see ownership, you know, and it also gives them visually something else immediately their mind, because we know that visual is one of the most active senses. That is sort of like, anyway, so it's a very active sense. And so they see something that they said written up there, and they're like, well, that's me up there. And so I think that really helps and focuses them on something else. So I like the idea of that, and it generally gets the minds going too.
Cassie, I have a question.
What's your question?
I know that you have to contact these people in order to make the time for them to come. Is it possible for, not necessarily you, but somebody, to ask them, can you come to this mediation with some ideas of what to do. I would imagine many of them, if they have lawyers, the lawyers are have talked to them already and have ideas on marriage things. But on other sort of things, that's not so clear that that ever happens. Especially even with the small claims and the civil stuff, it's like they come in completely, totally lost as to what to do because they didn't attempt to talk to the person ever before, or they did and they got angry or whatever. Is it possible to just ask people, would you please think about one or two ideas that you can bring forward?
Of course, it's always possible to ask, and I think that's really helpful when you get into domestic relations disputes because there's a lot of ground to cover. Um, so many emotions involved. I do think it's helpful to have various options, not just the one option you want, right? What do you think about that, Amber?
So I do think that it is very useful and it's very helpful. I know like in regards to the domestic relation cases that I do work with, prior to us even coming into the first mediation, I do give them a list of things to like just look over to start thinking about, to kind of just brainstorm some ideas, things that may work for them, things that may work for like the two. But just knowing that you can bring those ideas to the table, but it's not going to just be your ideas. Like the other person has to also agree. So there may come a time where like you have to negotiate these things. So I do like I have like a intake meeting where I let them know what mediation looks like and what it is and what they're going to have to do prior or what they're going to have to do when they come into mediation. I do give them like a little worksheet to work on, to
Okay.
look at, to fill out. But that's literally for them just to help them have better conversations when they come into the mediation. Of course, I give these materials to people. However, everybody doesn't always look at it. Everybody's not always prepared. Like some people come in and were like, oh, like I did get that. However, I haven't like thought about these things. I haven't looked at these things. So sometimes we need a break. Sometimes we take a break for like a few minutes just so they can look at things and gather themselves. Sometimes we take a break for like a week or two. It just kind of just depends on the parties and just where they are in that moment. But I know that I do share those things prior to the people coming into the mediation, just because I know with domestic relations, there are a lot of topics, there's a lot of ground to cover. So and it's just really up to the parties. I can't force people to come prepared or force them to have ideas. But what I can do is kind of what my grandma say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them
Make it drink.
So that's the
Yeah, I'm
thing.
glad to hear that, Amber. Thank you.
And
No,
So,
I
so it's actually already happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
and I see what Dina is saying, giving homework during caucus is such a powerful tool. I would agree with that. And I just wanted to point out in this is what surprised me about brainstorming in this book because it's different than what we've learned in the past about brainstorming. You'd think of a group generating ideas, but they're emphasizing individual brainstorming because it allows for a more freer and creative opportunity to brainstorm than group brainstorming, which isn't what we typically believe, right? We always feel like the group creativity is stronger, but they talk about how group brainstorming could lead to what they call social loafing, providing other people to do the work or production blocking so that others have to wait, evaluation apprehension, um, fear of public criticism, or fear that somebody is going to, bash your idea, especially if you're dealing with two spouses, right? Well, I'm going to propose this, and the other spouse says, that's a terrible idea. But if you're doing it in private, you feel more free to write down um, your honest proposals, and then you can bring them back to your mediator or facilitator, and they're going to share all the ideas. And some of them might even be the same. They might have the same proposal on both lists. And the individual brainstorming, I thought, was a really interesting point in the book. So I really wanted to share that. Does anybody else have additional thoughts on that?
Mary has her hand up.
Well, good morning, everyone. Most of my experience is in circle keeping, in a tribal court and in the court there, DRC. And my experience has been that the problem is most always not the problem. And that's because we all view the same thing differently, like you were just saying. And two experiences come to my mind. A husband and wife are having difficulties. The husband went in and said something and asked the peacemaking court to help with the problem. And the only way of describing the problem, according to the husband, was that she wants a divorce. We met for 4 meetings. On the 4th meeting, I noticed the lady had not ever spoken. And I said, "Why don't you have anything to say?" And she says, "Because I don't want this. I don't want this to happen. That's not what I see as the problem." And I asked her what she thought was, and she says, "Well, when he comes down in the morning, he doesn't say good morning. When I get my hair cut and look nice for him, he doesn't say I look nice. If I do something like I do a lot of meals for him, he never says thank you." And that was what she was complaining about. That was the agreement, that he would do those things. I had another one where there are 2 lawyers, 4 people, me. And there was a property dispute. We have a new neighbor and a neighbor next door that's been there 30 years. And he's always walked across that guy's lawn to go back behind it. So we had a whole lot of charts and graphs and overhead aerials about what is really the property, why this person has a right to put a fence up. Finally, the conversation came to, "Why do you want a fence?" And he says, "Because I have 2 dogs. They charge a lot if the dogs are loose. I don't want them to get hurt and run out in the street." And the other person said, I said, "What is your difficulty with it?" And he says, "Well, I go hunting. I have 30 years gone to the woods behind and hunted." And I said, "Well, that seems easy. What can be a solution?" They came with an idea of 2 sets of gates and an agreement that the gates are always shut. So whoever sees them or goes through them has to shut them. So I've always went for that openness and that idea of looking for things that aren't on the table yet. Thank you.
I appreciate you sharing that, Mary. Did anybody else want to share about brainstorming ideas, individual versus group, or any other topic?
So I just wanted to note that, Bill Eddy is pointing out research on it and saying, how the individual brainstorming first is research to be more effective. But the other thing that he noted that is sort of breaking our own myths was about venting, and how, at least when I was taught that venting was a good thing. And what he's saying is that the research really doesn't show that, that even for, I guess, quote unquote, normal people, I don't know what the opposite of high conflict people is, but that venting isn't necessarily helpful because it gets people stuck in their complaints rather than moving forward with the proposals. And I just thought, I don't know, for me, having been in this field like forever, I love the fact that our own mythologies are broken and that we have to look
Yeah.
at everything that we do and rethink it, and that there's research showing that we were wrong all the time. I love that.
So I'd like to follow up with what Zena was saying. So we're taught that we need to listen, right? They need to know that somebody's hearing them. But after the second or third time they're saying the same thing, it's like, okay, that's when you can say, "We heard you. We heard what you said, blah, 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 and let's move on." Yeah, I agree.
I guess
Well, the other piece of research that I don't think he talked about is that, I'm sorry, I'm focusing on venting here, that if people can vent separately with the mediator, it's much better than if they vent in front of the other party. Um, and I would agree with that, because then the other person isn't rolling their eyes and, doing all those nonverbals that get the other person really upset. And we can be empathetic, and then ask them, as Kathy said, to move on. Um, the DRC in Chicago has a really interesting take on doing that for mediations that go more than one session, that they will meet separately with each of the people as they come in the room, and just to sort of get them unfocused on whatever was bothering them then during the day, and refocused on proposals and trying to move things forward. And they'll do that like for 3 to 5 minutes at the beginning of each session. And I thought that was completely fascinating.
Zena, I think that idea sort of goes along with the idea of just meeting people where they are. And I would say that as having taught for too many years, but you meet all the 100 students coming through the door where they are, or what they know, and then turn it to where you want to be. And so I think that's always a really powerful idea. Meet people where they are and then just take them. Feel like you're a guide.
I have done that technique when I worked with students in conflict, that I would always meet with them privately before bringing them together in the same space, just to calm their nervous systems and check in with them, make sure they're okay and that they're ready to enter into the mediation. Because a lot of times their nervous systems are so activated that it's hard to be in logic mind. I haven't read the research that you mentioned, Zena, that's in the book. I'm very interested in that, so I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the book about like this separating out the problem solving, like the research you just mentioned about venting. I think for me, because I've been so drawn in by the transformative mediation model, Bush and Folger talking about the two focuses of the mediation, rather than being like focusing on the thing, the problem solving of the issue, they focus on these two shifts from lack of empathy to empathy of the other. I guess they call it from lack of recognition of the other to recognition of the other, which I interpret as empathy, and shift from disempowerment to empowerment. So I've really been drawn in by that model, and shifting, like trying to focus on a shift to recognition of the other, which I interpret as empathy. But now when I'm working with faculty and I'm running into what I think are more narcissists, I'm like, okay, if this person is a narcissist, and if they actually lack empathy, that's not going to be useful. So I'm not finding that strategy to be useful for working with high conflict person, or i.e. narcissist. And so I like this approach about the problem solving in the future, not worrying about. I was really drawn in, and I think at chapter 2 he talks about not doing opening statements, and instead, like, what are your initial impressions and thoughts about this future focused thing, this problem solving? So being future focused rather than past focused, I get. But my question for the group is, if somebody is like high conflict person, might be a narcissist, and their conflict is the grievance about how they were treated in the past, rather than like they want a thing. So like in a divorce mediation, obviously, in many of the mediation cases, we've got concrete things they're working towards. But in the conflicts I'm dealing with, a lot of them are like interpersonal grievances between colleagues. And I know my context might be very different from other people's contexts. But if the focus is this grievance, it's an emotional issue rather than a logic issue. And of course, the emotion, I'm learning now, is in the right brain. And of course, in academia, they're in the left brain. So shifting them, I've found writing things by hand, by the way, is a new technique I've been employing the last few years. I have found that very helpful. I know that was just talked about. So I do like the writing down to help focus the brain, but I guess I'm still not clear, like if their grievance is really an interpersonal slight, then how does that work with this model of like, I mean, I guess it still helps them shift through like, well, what's your proposal for the future and get out of like, what is your issue? What will solve this for you? I guess it would still work for those cases, but I just wanted to bring those issues into the conversation as well.
I was just noting chapter 5. I don't know. I feel like maybe we should read from it.
Feel free to share. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted somebody.
No, you can go ahead. You can go ahead, Zena.
I was trying to find the surgeon and nurse example. Can anybody find that in the book?
Ooh.
Oh yeah, here I got it.
Okay.
On page.
Yeah, he asks for a list. Yes.
Page 71, because yeah, so the doctor comes in, okay, comes into the nursing supervisor's office. You have to do something about your nurses. They're incompetent. So that just seemed like your example, Carrie. And so what she does is, excuse me, to listen to him and asks him to write his complaints down. I mean, she does the empathy thing first. She does ear first, and then she asks him to write down what his complaints are. And then he starts saying, "Oh, okay, I've thought of some really good ideas, but do you think the nurses will follow them?" And she says, "Of course, they just want to help you with your surgery." I just thought it's more than that, but I just thought it was a great example and that one that was right on for what you were talking about.
And Carrie was specifically speaking to narcissistic personalities. I just want to say that this is also a Bill Eddy book. Oh, I don't know if you can see it very well on my screen. It's called High Conflict People in Legal Disputes. And this book is all about, the first half is about various types of personality disorders and traits that affect a legal dispute. And then in the second part of the book, it tells you how to handle them. And specifically for narcissistic personality, they talk about being extremely task focused to try to get away from their they'll try to draw you into their ideas that they're superior and the other person is inferior. But I highly recommend that book. It's not as quick of a read as So What's Your Proposal? It's a much deeper dive into high conflict personalities, but I recommend it definitely if you're interested.
Thank you so much.
I think I put the book name in the chat for you guys if you guys want to go look at that for more.
And Carrie, I was totally fascinated by you talking about coming from the point of view of transformative mediation and then looking at it with high conflict personalities, because that was one of my questions coming in to this discussion is, has anybody who does transformative mediation looked at what happens in it with high conflict people? And what I'm hearing you say is it just doesn't work. Have you tried it?
This technique,
No,
the
tried the
transformative mediation
transformative
approach?
technique. Yeah.
Kind of my approach generally with people. I have found like it was really helpful with students whose brains are still developing. And I was really drawn in by Eddy's, brain neuroscience research that he's drawing in, like with this brains are still developing to the age of 25. But when people are more entrenched in their ways, and I'm noticing that academia tends to draw some folks who like might be high conflict people, as it turns out. And so now now that I'm shifting to working with doctors and nurses and faculty, I'm seeing a need for a different kind of approach, because I don't think that really works, because they're not looking for empathy. If they're not able to offer empathy, then the transformative mediation approach isn't going to be effective, is what I'm finding. So I'm thinking about this one particular conflict that's just been intractable, a couple of them. And I think they have this superiority attitude. So Cassie, I really appreciate you recommending that book, because trying to shift them to empathy for the other, it's a lost cause, I think, for these kids. Like, it's not going to work. So that approach will not work. So I really like this. What's your proposal? What's your proposal? Oh, you just want to complain about the other person? Okay, what's your proposal? And then they can finally release the idea that there's actually nothing they're looking for. They just want to complain about the other person. Okay, well, that's data, right? That gives me information.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Mary raised her hand.
Well, hi, I again have different experiences. I worked for Wayne County for a while in a school, grades kindergarten through fourth grade. Talk about unfinished. And the agreement with that was that every teacher would give me their two worst people, and I would meet with them for an hour a week. And any disagreements that come up or any disputes, they would come down to me. And this was on the circle principle. That school was in that district the worst for suspensions and detentions. And in doing this, it was at the end of the school year, the least suspensions and detentions in that short time. Now, they were my chosen people. They weren't the ones that were the worst. I remember there was one girl, she was a third grader, and she spent her whole career out in the hall because she was so bad in the classroom. And I asked her, why are you out here? And she says, oh, teacher doesn't like me or something. Her mother came in from our teacher parent conference, and she came to my office, and I asked her, I said, hey, what's going on? And she'd had a new daughter, and the oldest child who was standing in the hall thought that her mother didn't love her anymore. Had nothing to do with school, nothing to do with the teacher, nothing to do with the hall. It's just that she had this personal thing that was undisclosed. And the mother came in, and we passed a talking stick at this time. And of course, the mother was kind of blown away, but the daughter just laid her heart out. You don't love me anymore. You have a new baby. And the mother says, what do I do? And I said, you pick your stick up and you take your turn to talk. And she did. She says, you're always my first, I'll always love you. I will always. And that never saw her in the hall after that. She was, I won't say it, a good student. She didn't know really how to be that, but she was acceptable. So what we do is so very important. And what I found were the people who were the most difficult seemed to be carrying the greatest burdens. I'm over. Thanks.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks for sharing that. So we have a little more than 20 minutes left before the end of our session. And I wanted to ask Amber if she's ready to find some volunteers for a role play exercise. Doesn't everybody love to role play?
Yeah. So I just feel like this will be a little great thing for us to do, so we can learn about how to actually use what we read
I
about.
think Zena, are you volunteering?
She is.
Absolutely.
I love it. Does anybody want to join Zena?
I saw Carrie's hand.
Zena and Carrie?
I don't know. Carrie said no, no, no. She shook her fingers. She said
Oh
no.
no.
I don't know
We
who
do this
else
all
we're
the
gonna
time.
get. Oh, Steph. Did Steph come to the camera?
I'll do it.
God.
Oh yes. Okay. We need one more, right? We want a mediator and two parties.
Oh, we do. Who wants to mediate? I can't be the mediator, guys. I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't know. Diane. Oh, Alexandria. I saw a hand.
Well, I don't think that I'm a terrific mediator because I'm always the second banana purposely because I don't feel like I know how to lead very
It's
well.
okay. Well, we
It's a great
got
place to practice.
okay.
Yeah.
Right on time.
Well, and we have three roles, right? So
Okay.
first I'm just gonna quickly share 3 steps because some of us haven't read the book. So I just want to make sure we're all clear on the 3 simple steps. So first, we're gonna role play with nothing but blame. We're gonna blame, 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 blame. And then the second time around, we're going to take that scenario and use the 3 simple steps to make a proposal, ask and answer questions. So you can ask a question about somebody's proposal for clarity if you're one of the parties. But otherwise, you're responding with yes, no, or I'll think about it. And if your answer is no, you're proposing something else. So in addition to that, I have this quick role play I'm going to share. It's Alexis and Ben. If I brought that up correctly on my screen, I'm sorry, just give me 1 second.
Could you put those 3 steps in the chat so that we can?
I sure can. Yeah, give me 1 sec here. Okay, so the role play that we're going to want, I don't know why I'm struggling to find it in my
Oh, I got
available.
you. I can do
Do you
it.
have it?
I do.
I'm not struggling to find it, but I'm struggling to bring it up. Okay, contract dispute. We have a contract dispute, just we should determine who wants to be which role. Alexandria, do you want to try to be the mediator here? You want to give it a go?
Yeah, I don't know how much I'm gonna, really bomb on this, but I guess, yeah, I'll give it a try.
We could skip the intro part, right, and go right into the complaining party, which is Alexis, who is also the high conflict personality. Who wants to play Alexis, Zena or Stephanie? Zena? She's excited about this, I'm sure. Zena's going to be Alexis. Stephanie's going to be Ben. Alexandria is going to facilitate your conversation. And I was asked to put those steps in the chat.
Who's going to be Ben? Stephanie?
Yep.
Oh, you're going to put those in the chat too. That'd be great. Thank you.
Step 1, make a proposal. Let us know when you're complete and we can take that off of when you've had enough chance to
I
review and
took
we
a
can take that down.
screenshot of it so that I can keep it in front of me.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna do that too.
So I'm done. But I don't know, Steph, if you've got your
Yeah, I
screenshot.
got it too. Yeah, I did. Good idea.
Okay.
What screenshot? Am I supposed to be copying something?
No, we just wanted to get our roles in front of us while we're playing. So you can take it down. You can take the role play down.
Oh.
Are you ready, Alexandria, to ask them for their perspectives on their dispute and why they're here today?
I hope so, because having not really gotten the gist of reading those 2 things, I don't even know what they're arguing about.
They're arguing, they have a contract dispute over, Ben created a website for Alexis and she seems to be quite unhappy with it.
Huh.
And she's a high conflict personality type and she's looking for some money.
Oh, back from what she paid him?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Or she doesn't feel like she owes the money that is left and she feels like in fact she should be getting money back, I believe.
Definitely. No question.
And Ben is the one that created the website for her, and I'm assuming he completed the work and was paid.
I believe she still owes him some money,
Oh,
actually. She owes him a little bit of money. Here, let me summarize that really quick.
Yeah, it says there's a $5,000 deposit and then you're still owed $3,000.
Ah. It was 3,000. Okay.
And what name, Steph, would you like a different name than Ben?
I guess I don't know how to begin quite. I'm so used to doing the small claim stuff.
Well, Alexa,
Uh,
you can ask Alexis to provide her side of the story. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Alexis and Ben. Thank you for coming here to this mediation. Our purpose is to have you both give your point of view and then to pick a way to begin negotiating a agreement that you both think is fair. Normally in these mediations, we start with the plaintiff, which in this case is you, Alexis. And would you please take, I would say, as briefly and concise as you can, about 3 minutes, to explain why we are here and what it is you are seeking.
Well, yes. I mean, I just think you need to know, though, at the beginning, that Benny is a fraud. I mean, I was promised a state-of-the-art website. What I got was a completely buggy, ugly, barely functional website. It's not just a failure, it's actually feels like a sabotage of my business. And then I looked her up, and it turns out that she keeps doing this and trying to hide behind technical jargon, which, of course, I don't know. But anyone can see, just look at the website, and anybody would see that it's totally unacceptable. And I paid a deposit, I want it back. And I actually think she has harmed my business. So I would like money for the loss of business that I would have gotten had the website been good. And I think that you need to know that this is a person that you should never trust.
So what I'm hearing is that the conflict has to do with a contract that was made concerning a website for your business to give you better business. And what you got instead was not something that helped your business. And in fact, you feel that you have been, your business has been hurt by it. And that the person involved perhaps had motives that were either didn't care or wanted to just be paid money and kind of wheedle out of it somehow. Am I hearing this right?
You got it so completely right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, thank you for your side, and I would like to move to Ben to get the perspective on the work that was done and why they are here also.
Sure, yes, thank you. So I'm very confused by Alexis's claims. These are all baseless. She signed off on the initial wireframes and the feature list. I delivered all of the features that were specified. We hit all of the contractual milestones. The delay that Alexis is referring to was entirely due to repeated last-minute requests by her for massive scope changes that were outside of the original contract, and she's refusing to pay for those changes.
Excuses.
I keep trying to explain the technical limitations within the contract, but she just calls me incompetent. I'm owed
That's
the
right.
remaining $3,000 for the work that I've already completed that she's asked for.
Okay. Can I ask how long has it been? When was the work completed, Stephanie?
It
We
has
completed
not been completed. I want to be clear about that.
We completed all of the contractual requirements 4 months ago.
4 months ago. If I could ask Alexis, how long has the website been up, active with your business?
I put it up and then I looked at it and I took it right down.
So it's not been up even a day?
It probably a day.
Okay. And do you know if anyone responded to it while it was up?
There was somebody who tried to respond, but it was so buggy that they couldn't even get through, so they called.
So one customer called, okay. I guess I guess I'm stuck, Cassie. I don't know where to go from here.
Oh, that's okay. I think the whole point of what we're trying to do is run through a couple different, go through the scenario as they're blaming each other and we're stuck in that blame cycle. But if you want, we can practice the making a proposal, right? Um, so I guess I would shift to the parties and say, so Alexis, do you have any ideas of how do where do we go from here? Or would you like to share some ideas that you have on how we could solve this? So you would just want to use some of that, what's your proposal language?
Oh, I see. Okay. One of the things that comes to my mind, and I don't think I'm going to ask Alexis, would be, how do you know this is a failure when you've only had it up for a few hours and took it down? But I don't know how to come about. I don't know business wise how to introduce the idea that when you first try something, you got to give it at least 24 hours to see if it works. The only thing I can think what was happening is that she took one look at it and was flabbergasted by it and thought this could never ever represent me. If that's the case, then I think maybe we could work out a compromise in which Ben gets paid for the work somewhat, but she gets to have her piece and have her say. She has vented now, and perhaps
So I think so. If you could ask for a proposal,
yeah.
and yeah. So instead of going back on or
Okay.
trying to convince me that I was wrong, or trying to find a resolution, just to ask for a proposal.
Who do we usually ask first, though? Is it the plaintiff or the defendant?
I think the plaintiff first, because
Okay.
the high conflict personality first.
Oh, okay. 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 Alexis, getting back with you, we are going to try to resolve the issue, but the ideas are supposed to come from both of you. Have you thought about a possible scenario which would settle the issue at least amicably enough so that both of you could be satisfied? Do you have any ideas of your own?
Well, I've already made my proposal. I want a full refund plus $2,000 for loss of business.
So do
And
you just
then
want me to ask questions
I
now to flow into that, or I don't know what?
yeah, Ben could ask a question about that proposal. I'm just looking at the three prompts. You could ask a question, you could respond with a yes, a no, or you will think about it.
But yeah, because that's right. Ben has to respond now, either with a question or a yes, no, or he'll think about it. Yeah.
Right.
So should I be asking Ben then?
Yeah. Does he have any questions?
Do you have,
Or
yeah. Do you wish to respond to the ask of Alexis at this point? Could you?
Yeah, I do have some questions, actually. The website was tested, and if you only had it up for a day, how do you know that these things weren't working? One person tried something that you say wasn't working, but when I beta tested it, everything worked. So how can you say that the website doesn't work based on one person's
well, that was the point, is that only one person even called me about it, and nobody else even got through. Whereas with the old website, I would get a few a few messages a day through the website. I got nothing in that 24 hours, and one person was kind enough to call and say, your website doesn't work.
And here's where I would ask them, we're trying to stay solution focused. So it sounds like Alexis made a proposal. And Ben, you can either ask a question about the proposal, or you can respond with a yes, a no, or I'll think about it. So,
oh boy, we got off really fast, didn't
yeah,
we?
Ben here did not ask a question about the proposal. Ben went to the past and started kind of arguing about the issue. So we have to get Ben back on track, right? So I would definitely ask Ben at this point, if you have something to say, it's got to be about the proposal, right? Did you have a question, Ben, about the proposal?
Yeah, so your proposal then is that I get paid zero for all of the time and efforts that I put into making this website? And in fact,
My
I have to
proposal
pay
is that
you?
you get paid what it was worth. Zero. Minus.
So
It sounds like
I
you don't agree
disagree.
on the amount. So I would ask Ben at
I
this
disagree
point
with that
to
proposal.
propose. Yeah. Do you like that proposal or no?
Yeah, no, I disagree with that proposal. My proposal is that I've put all of the work into the website. You've asked me to do things that were far beyond what the original contract was. My proposal is that you pay me what I am due. I've done everything that you asked for. I continued to work on the website. There was that one glitch. I was able to go right in and fix it. I don't know what happened or how that happened, but I was able to fix it. I've tested the website. It works perfectly fine. And the fact that you've changed your mind now, I'm still owed what I'm owed. So my proposal is that I get paid the $3,000 that I'm owed for the extra work that I did.
At this
So
point, I feel like we're at a stalemate, and I would like to remind folks that a mediation means that we are going to try to settle an issue in which both people can agree and live with. If we are at the point where neither one is going to move a muscle, then you do have other options other than mediation. But I would ask, and I would even like to take maybe a minute of just kind of quiet to think about a proposal to each other. Each one of you think of something that kind of comes in the middle, because the word mediation means to come in the middle, and to move forward with what is that proposal. If you are both satisfied with it, then we will have a solution without having to go to court, without having to pull in all kinds of proof of what we're saying. And I will say that in some of this stuff, there is no proof being offered. So I think it's best if we could take a step back. Just think about maybe a piece of paper in front of you, write down something. Now, I don't know how to, Cassie, I don't know how to quiet things down for a minute or two. Do I actually take them off screen, or does somebody go to another place while the other one is quiet?
in this scenario, I would have
Yeah.
wanted to get them from explaining their proposals and their opinions about it to just saying, I want this many dollars, and you can go back to the other one and say, no, I want this many dollars. Like, that's okay that they're throwing that around, but the whole idea to make this efficient is that they make their proposal, not with a long, drawn out explanation, and then the other party can respond. So they're supposed to keep it
So
short.
Cassie, would I then be responding to Ben's proposal? Is that what?
Yeah,
So you would
without
ask me
criticism.
the same thing, like questions or yes, no, or I'll think about it. Is that?
Right. I would say, Alexis, what do you think about Ben's proposal? Would you accept it? Do you disagree? You can say yes or no, or you can say, I'll think about it. And if you say no, I want you to come up with an additional proposal. And I guess if they're stuck at that point, you go into that brainstorming mode. Think of a couple ideas and let's come back to the table.
So I get to respond to Ben's first, right?
hmm
So I would say absolutely not. I mean, that is the stupidest proposal that I've heard.
And
And
it's okay. And I would actually interrupt you because you're starting to criticize. And I'd say
yeah.
it's okay to say no and come up with another proposal, but it's either
Oh,
a yes, a
that is so
no,
disarming.
or I will think about it. Yes. You
Oh,
can't bring all that extra verbiage just to criticize and put the other person down. So I would actually stop you in your tracks.
oh, that is so perfect. Okay. Well,
That's something though that I think calms things down.
oh yeah, that would
Because
calm me down immediately.
If
would.
you
Yep,
have the right
absolutely.
tone. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm amazed, but yes, it would. Yeah. Well,
Wow,
well,
I'd
if
have
I
to
have
find.
if I have to respond, I have to say no. I have to say no. And you're saying if I have to say no, then I have to come up with another proposal. But I made my proposal already.
hmm
Yes, and she already gave her answer, so I don't see the point in rehashing the two same ideas of I'm not giving in and I'm not giving in.
Yeah.
So
So Cassie, you're saying the next move would be the
To have a
brainstorming. Then
brainstorm.
we would go in our separate spaces and
Get out
come
your
up
pen
with.
and paper.
Got it. Got it.
well,
This was really
are they
helpful.
yeah,
Thank you.
are they still looking at each other at this point is what I'm asking. Do we cut
Ben has gone away. No, Ben's out of it.
ah oh, I see.
Off camera, mute, come up with your little ideas. Or you could put them in the waiting room. You could put them in a breakout room and ask for their ideas and then compile your own list as a mediator. So they don't even know if each other came up with the same ideas or not.
Right, but how do you keep that? What do you actually do to get two people separated like that?
Put them in a waiting room or put them in a breakout room
Okay.
and Zoom.
Those are two things I don't know how to do, but okay. So there would
Well, when
be,
you're working with us, we would do that for you. The case coordinators would do that for you.
oh, okay. So am I allowed to say, would each of you take just 3 minutes
Yeah.
to take a piece of paper and pen and write down some possible proposals that are not the extreme that we might start to actually come in towards a resolve?
And I would even encourage them and say there is no bad ideas that can be brought to the table. Be creative as you want. Come up with any idea that you think is a possible solution, and we will group them all together and go through them one by one.
Okay.
That is so cool. I really like that. Thank you.
Belinda put in the chat a link to Unhooked Me. Oh, she put a link to the high conflict people in legal dispute.
Yeah, the book that Amber was referencing.
Yeah, perfect.
Are
Thank
you
you.
Ready to start?
Yes, we are. We're running out of time. Amber, did you want to wrap up and let us know when we're coming back and what we're talking about?
Man. We are meeting same time next month, first Wednesday,
It's the 5th
the 5th.
of November.
Same time,
Same time, same link.
same link. But we will be talking about the other half of the book. Right?
Yes, we will be talking through the rest of the book, which does highlight, I heard a few folks say they're interested in how this could carry over to communities and groups. So that's actually a focus in the other half of the book. So that should be pretty exciting.
Because this is something that you can use in like everyday life, work life, home life, personal life, family life. And we can share more about that the next time that we do come and that we do talk. Just to talk about like how maybe you've used this 3-step proposal process like in your life.
Use it on your kids, use it on your family, come back and report.
Could I make a suggestion to Cassie and Amber? Could you put a paragraph together? This way other people in the DRC volunteers would feel welcome to come. Because if they've missed the first part and we're going to use the whole second time on the book, it feels to me like they're not being included in the DRC once a month meeting. So they would need some kind of summary, really short, of what was talked about. And
yeah, we could do that.
And then once we get together, then the conversation would have to be more general. I mean, we could reference the book, but I would think that we don't want to keep people out of these meetings 2 months in a row. I mean, maybe that's just me.
Yeah, we could provide a summary of what we talked about today, don't you think?
Yeah, we will send another note out for the next month as we normally would do, and Cassie and Amber can add to that. Everyone, 200 plus people got the notice about the Lunch and Learn today.
Yeah.
That is our email list. And I know that there was another email list, and maybe that was just our kerfuffle at the office, but no one was excluded from our Lunch and Learns. But I do want to thank Cassie and Amber for doing this for the very first time
Yep.
at the DRC and doing the very first Lunch and Learn for the season. And I hope that it was a fruitful and engaging and maybe even challenging conversation for those of us. We will continue this format. We want to address skill development. We want to add new tools to our toolbox because in my mind, looking at the data, conflicts are a little tougher right now. And when I woke up this morning to the cuts of budgets, and right now the center directors are talking about the state budget. When the economy is stressed out, people are stressed out, they go to court with that stress. So that emotionality of their posturing behavior you might experience. And we thought that the Lunch and Learn addressing tools and skills and all of that would be helpful to everyone who's going to be working with those folks in mediation in a circle. It doesn't matter. We're seeing that, and I'm also seeing for small claims cases, a bigger volume of cases are coming through, regardless if they get scheduled or not. We're getting a big volume of cases from the courts in terms of referrals. So we want to be as equipped as we possibly can be. And that will be the focus of this season's Lunch and Learn. So thank you. Give us your feedback. If there are other books that might be helpful to our work, please suggest it. I will give a plug to Bill Eddy's bookstore. They gave us a good discount. They were very kind to us and giving us a good discount on the books. I think it was 30% off, which was really nice. And we will continue to purchase from him if there are other books in his catalog that will be helpful to us. So thank you so much. And again, thank you.
I just want to
Very
say,
Cassie.
Amber and Cassie, the preparation that you did for this was just fabulous, and it really made a difference. Thank you.
Amber and I get along well.
They've been working on it all summer.
Thank you.
So they did not take this lightly as a task, and
No,
I
it
appreciate
shows.
them
It shows.
taking the reign and running with it. Thank you all.
And I do just want to let you guys know before you leave, we do have some different like handouts. I know that we did share a few while we were on the call, but we'll also include that in the email along with a summary of what we talked about today and like a
Yay.
summary of the book, so you guys can be better prepared for the next conversation that we'll have next month.
Okay, good.
Thank
Well
you.
done,
Have a
ladies.
great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.